You can see Mr. Smith waving from the cockpit so as he passes by, feel free to wave back. As we mentioned earlier, these planes still in harness, even some 80 years. The Hawk House at the controls of our PT-17. We'll be staying below the 2 line, at least for a little while. On her way out once again. From flying the PT-17, or a similar biplane called the N3N, an example of which we have inside of our Navy hangar. Yes, just another yellow biplane. Then you would ultimately find your way into the cockpit of the SNJ. It was a long process. Many weeks in school, as a matter of fact. As I said previously, lots of theory and then hands-on training. One of the challenges was that the PT-17 was not available in sufficient numbers, and so the United States Naval Aircraft Factory originated the N3N as a supplement to needed to fill the gaps in terms of training. It was a rapid process as far as scaling up production to meet the needs at the beginning of the war. And it is, of course, very true that Stearmans became favorites of crop dusters in the years after service until 1968. The plane was then fully restored by a new owner in Texas in 1990 before acquired by the fighter factory in 1996. Another restoration was performed thereafter. The plane's current paint scheme denotes its use as a trainer for instrument flight certification, and its livery is a traditional pre-war paint scheme for the United States Navy. And we should point out that the yellow coloring is actually not incidental. It's quite important. In fact, these planes, including the N3N, were generally referred to by the tend to be a warning, kind of like putting a driver's ed sticker on a car. This was truly for trainee pilots, and the intent was to warn more experienced flight and ground crews to give way and get out of the way. Attack aircraft and observation aircraft. As mentioned, they still serve able. So even if the plane itself is wholly incapable of breaking the sound barrier, well, the propeller is way ahead of us. A low-wing, monoplane, all-metal aircraft, the SNJ really was a harbinger of things to come and mimicked and mirrored aircraft such as the P-40 Warhawk, the P-51 Mustang, and even the P-40s serving widely throughout the war despite their somewhat obsolescent character. And P-39s largely over, but the sophistication of the SNJ is in its construction, with its all-metal monoplane wing. Retractable landing gear, trim tabs, and fully. In fact, since we know that some SNJs were fitted with armament, it's quite probable that they were used for aerial gunnery training as well as towing targets. Aiming at a stationary target is hard enough. Trying to aim at a moving target while at altitude is particularly challenging. It requires a level of skill and determination on the part of the pilot and or the gunnery crew. And we should consider that a similarly sized aircraft such as the SBD Dauntless, built by the Douglas Company, which looks very similar to the SNJ in terms of its all-glass canopy, would have carried both the pilot and an observer/rear gunner. So imagine being out in the open, manning a machine gun, firing over the tail of an aircraft, attempting to shoot down an opponent who is pursuing you from behind. of the more interesting anecdotes from the Second World War involving SNJs. Unbeknownst to most of us, the Aviation Islands in Alaska were actually occupied. Not wishing to sacrifice more valuable aircraft for the purpose, however, SNJs were pressed into use by the United States Army Air Forces and the United States Navy, particularly the de Havilland Tiger Moth, an airplane not dissimilar from the PT-17, and which was actually intended as an emergency weapon in the event of an invasion of Great Britain during the Second World War. They practiced bombing runs. Many of its pilots, however novice they might have been, to the defense of the British Isles in something as diminutive as a de Havilland Tiger Moth. And we're certainly grateful that planes like the Boeing Stearman PT-17, now coming in for a landing, also were not pressed into service in such an aggressive way. How about a round of applause, please, for Mr. Andy Hockhouse, our pilot of the PT-17 today. And we'll soon welcome him back to Earth. A little bit of rudder, a little waggle of the wings. A bounce and a roll. Tail down. Almost. There we go. A round of applause, please, for Mr. Mark Finucci, Captain of the United States Navy, flying one of the Navy's own, the museum's SNJ-2.